All right, go ahead and grab those message notes out. We're going to jump into week 4 of our series, Rise and Fall. And what this series is all about is our summer series. And what we're doing is we're just looking at King Saul's life, and we're just looking at, hey, how he rose, but then how he came down as this crumbling fall. And like I've been saying throughout this week, it's not just one decision that made him fall. It was one decision after another in the wrong direction. So again, we're in week 4, and I want to start off with this question. How many of you have ever been happy with your life until you look at someone else's life? Come on now. You're happy with your house until you go in their house. And you're like, I ain't happy no more. I ain't happy no more. You're happy with your car until they get a better one, right? You're happy with your job until you find out that you make more money. You're happy with your marriage because you've seen that couple on social media that apparently never argue. Like everything is just perfect for them, right? You're happy with your kids until you see someone else's kids that actually mine. Like you're just happy until you realize that other people have something better and they're better off. Maybe you're happy with that 10 pounds you lost, but you saw someone that lost 15 and you're like, well, I'm not happy no more. Like you just go through this thing, and we all go through this, and King Saul went through this. It's called comparison. We look at what other people have. We're happy with our life. We're happy with the things we have until we see that somebody else has something better. Somebody else has something brighter. Somebody else has something bigger. And we go, I'm no longer happy with my life. So today we're going to hear about King Saul and how he heard the highlight reel of David. And so David and his army coming back from war. And there's this song that is sang, and it just took King Saul and put him off the rails. That's exactly what it did. 1 Samuel 18:5-8 says this: whatever mission Saul sent him on, David was so successful that Saul gave him a high rank in the army. This pleased all the troops and all Saul's officers as well. When the men were returning home after David had killed the Philistine, the women came out. Here it is. The women came out from all the towns of Israel to meet King Saul with singing and dancing, joyful songs and tambourines and lyres. And they danced. They sang. Saul had slain his thousands and David his 10,000s. And here it is, right here. Saul was very angry. He was very angry. This refrain displeased him greatly. They have credited David with tens of thousands, he thought, but me with only thousands. What more can he get but the kingdom? Notice, I want you to notice this. The women and the people came out to meet King Saul, not David. They came out to sing the praises of Saul. What did they say? Saul has slain his thousands. The problem is, and we all do it, we see our blessings, we see what God has given us, but then he hears, but David has killed his 10,000. Bam, right there. I no longer worry about my blessings. I no longer see my blessings. I only see this guy being praised more than me. I only see that house that's bigger than mine. I only see that car that's shinier than mine. I only see those people that are doing better than me because I have forgotten to look at the blessing that I currently have. And that's what comparison does. Comparison is looking at someone else wishing you had what they had because you think that what they have is better. And so here you have King Saul. He's enjoying the praise. He's enjoying that he's victorious and all these things. And the moment he hears, but David, that's all he heard. But David. David and his tens of thousands. And so I want to give us 3 things that comparison will do, and then another thing of how to get out of comparison. If you take a note, jot this first one down. Comparison changes your focus. Comparison changes your focus. 1 Samuel 18:9 says, and from that time on, Saul kept a close eye on David. Watch it. From that day on, Saul focused on the wrong thing. Saul wasn't focused on being a king. Saul was focused on a man that he was afraid was going to take his kingdom. Here's the problem. David had already been king. He's already been anointed king. David is eventually going to be the king. All it takes is Saul to die. But yet, here you have King Saul, and he's going, I don't like the fact that they are praising David more than me. One day, one song, one comparison, everything changed. David didn't change, though. I mean, if you read David's life, he was very loyal to Saul. He was very loyal. As a matter of fact, there are 2 times in Scripture, if I remember correctly, that he could have killed Saul, but he said, I will not touch the Lord's anointed. If David wanted Saul's place, he could have took him out a long time ago. Saul was so caught up on comparison, and it just took one song, just one. I want to ask you a question. What is that one song in your life? What is that one scroll in your life? What is that one person in your life that, man, you cannot help but continuously over and over and over and compare yourself to them? So here's a transparent story for me. I don't compare myself again. I don't compare my house with other people's houses. I don't compare money. I don't compare cars. I just always been content in the things that God has given me. But you know what I do compare myself to others with? Ministry. Ministry is the very thing that I look at other churches and I look at other pastors and I look at other, and I go, God, my church isn't big enough. My building isn't nice enough. I don't have enough staff. I don't have enough resources. God, I don't know why you're blessing them, but you're not blessing me. And then I just have a 2-year-old fit. And God's like, man up, man. Man up. Right? And so if we're all honest, though, we all have those things in our lives that we look at and go, man, God, I would be happy if I had that. I would be more content if I had that. And so I read this book. I was reading this book about, it was called Trust Issues. And the idea was that we have trust issues with God. And the pastor was complaining, kind of like me. He was complaining about another church. And he was complaining about the pastor and the church and the building. And he felt like God said to him, do you think that I took your blessing and gave it to them? And then here's the second one. Do you not think that I'm big enough and I have enough to bless you too? Isn't that odd that we get caught up in comparing ourselves with other people as if God doesn't have a storehouse full? And we're going, well, they got this and they got, but the problem is, here's the problem. It isn't that you don't have a blessing. It's that you forgot. It's that we have focused on the wrong thing. Hebrews 12:2 says, just fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer, perfecter of faith, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. The writer of Hebrews knew whatever had your focus eventually had your heart. We have to be careful when we are comparing our lives and our stuff with other people, because can I tell you something? We'll never be happy. Somebody's always going to have something bigger, brighter, better. And if we don't learn to be content with what we have, we will do eventually what is about to happen. If you take it out, jot this second one down. Comparison gives birth to envy. Comparison gives birth to envy. 1 Samuel 18:8 again says, Saul was very angry. This refrain displeased him greatly. They have credited David with tens of thousands, he thought, but me with only 1,000. What more can he get but the kingdom? Why would he be so angry at David? David didn't do anything. It wasn't like David was out there going, bring it on, give me more, come on, give me more. But it wasn't acting like David was patting himself on the back. He wasn't even expecting or wanting the praise of people. You know what David's number one job and desire was? To please God. That's all. That's all he wanted to do was to please God. He wasn't asking for attention. He was just being faithful. And here's what comparison says. Comparison says they have more, but envy says this, I wish they didn't. Envy says, I can't celebrate you because I don't even want you to have what you have. I can't celebrate you because you have more than me, and I don't want you to have that. Proverbs 14:30 says, it's a heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rocks the bones. What do you think about this? When anything is rotting, you don't initially see it, right? It can happen on the inside. And notice this, a heart of peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones. When you are walking in envy, you are literally rotting from the inside out. And not only that, if you put something that's rotten next to something else, that thing then becomes contaminated too. And here's the thing. Have you ever noticed envious people hang out with envious people? And everybody's envious? And because we usually, if you didn't automatically get in a group of people that's envious and you're envious, you will end up rotting your group of people. And they will become envious just like you. And so there was a time that I was on staff at a pretty large church in Kansas, and I was youth pastor. And I remember, man, I was working really hard. I was doing all the right things, and our youth ministry was really growing, and God was just blessing it, and he was doing amazing things. But man, there was this other staff couple that they got the praise, and they got the accolades, and they got all of these things. And I became so envious of them. I became so angry on the inside. And I remember there were times that they would invite us over and they would invite us to hang out, and I would always say no. And I would make up some excuse. And then here's the reason why. I didn't want to be around them because I didn't like them. And I didn't like them not because they caused anything, because I didn't like that they had more than I did. Now, I'm not talking about material things. I'm talking about in ministry. And finally, one day I called them on the phone and I was like, hey, guys, I just want to tell you something. I just want to apologize. I'm sorry. I've been envious of you guys. And, you know, I've been envious, and this is why. And they were like, well, we're sorry if we call. Actually, you didn't cause anything. You were just being faithful to God, and I just got my eyes off the wrong person. I just put my eyes on you instead of keeping it on Jesus. Envy is so controlling, isn't it? It's so controlling. It will control your mood. It will control your day. It will control your hours. It will control everything. Comparison is such a trap. It is such a trap. We clap on the outside, but we are competing with them on the inside. Like we're like, yay, 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 you go. And on the inside, we're like, I can't stand you. I don't want to celebrate you. I don't want to celebrate you. You pray that they don't, that like, instead of being excited for them, you're more excited when they fall. Like you're more excited when something bad happens. Like you pray that they lose everything. You pray that they would get hemorrhoids. You pray something. Like you just pray that something bad happens to them, right? That's what envy does. Envy says, you're doing better than me, and I don't like it, so I'm going to make your life miserable so you don't do better than me. That's what envy does. Envy makes someone else's blessing feel like you're lost. Saul never stopped being the king. He just stopped enjoying being the king. He just stopped enjoying being the king. Last one, take notes, jot this down. Comparison robs you of contentment. If comparison isn't dealt with, it will steal your joy, your peace, and eventually years of your life. 1 Samuel 18:12 through 15 says that Saul was afraid of David because the Lord was with David, but he had departed from Saul. So he sent David away from him and gave him command over 1,000 men, and David led the troops in their campaign. And everything he did, he had great success because the Lord was with him. When Saul saw how faithful he was afraid of him. Notice how many times it said he was afraid of him. It said it multiple times. Listen to me. When we compare, it robs us of our contentment. I want you to think about something. I want you just to quickly do an inventory of your life and think of a few things that you're thankful for. Just because here's what I know. If we don't keep in front of us the things that we're thankful for, we will lose the blessing that God has given us. We will lose the blessing that God has given us. Saul could not celebrate David. He couldn't rejoice with him. He just kept his eye on him. He couldn't enjoy his own blessings. In comparison, stole his contentment. 1 Samuel 18:29 says that Saul became still more afraid of him, and he remained his enemy the rest of his days. Catch that? Saul became David's enemy, or David became Saul's enemy, and David didn't do anything. He didn't. Again, David would have gave his life for Saul, but Saul wouldn't have gave his life for David. All because of one song. All because David got accolades, he got praised more than Saul did. He remained his enemy the rest of his days. So that means this, that Saul lost years of peace, lost years of joy, lost years of purpose, not because David stole it, but because envy did. Envy will always rob you of God's blessing. Envy will always cause you to think somebody else has gotten it better, somebody else is doing better, somebody else's life is better. But here's what I want you to hear. You don't know the behind the scenes of that person. You don't know what's going on in their life. You don't even know if they can afford that new big shiny thing. Like, I told the first service that my mother-in-law went out and got a brand new Mustang. And if you know me, I'm a car guy, and I love Mustangs. And so she went out and bought a brand new one, and I went and saw it. And man, I, just envy just grew up in me. You know what I'm saying? And here's the deal. And I don't wish that anybody dies, but I know when they die, it's coming to me anyway. But, that could be 20 years from now. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully it is. Hopefully it's 50 years from now. I'm just saying. It's going to be a classic maybe, okay? So, anyway, I told Sherry, my wife, I said, part of me wants to go out and buy a new Mustang because your mom has one. And I can credit-wise afford it, maybe not financially, but credit-wise I can afford it. But then I'm going to be stressing out every month going, I got this big old payment I got to pay now. Why? Because I was trying to impress somebody that nobody cares. Nobody cares. I'm the only one that cared. Nobody else. Look, if I go out and buy a new Mustang, my mother-in-law's going to say, congratulations, and that's it. That's it. So, you know what I'm saying? And so if we're not careful, we will allow envy to rob us of being content. And here's the other thing I notice we do, especially in today's world. Man, it's easy for us to get on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and we just compare our behind the scenes with everyone's highlight reel. You know what I'm saying? I want you to think about this, okay? If you follow us on Facebook, Sherry last night posted our family picture. So Kelvin and Sierra came into town from Ohio on Friday night, and because we wanted to do family picture. I want you. So if you follow us and if you saw them, if you didn't, that's okay. But if you did, I want you to pay attention to something. There isn't one picture in there that has my eyes rolling. You realize how many times I rolled my eyes though? Because if you know anything about me, I don't like pictures. I mean, I would rather go to the doctor or the license branch to get pictures, okay? And so the whole time we're taking pictures, it's hot, I'm sweating, I am complaining. My daughter-in-law complaining with me. Remember, you surround yourself with light qualities. So we're both complaining about how hot it is. We were in, it was just miserable. But I was trying to have a good attitude for my wife, and it was hard. And eventually I thought she was going to just smack me, but she didn't. She held grace. Not one of those pictures made it online. They were edited to make it look like we had the greatest time. And in every picture, I'm smiling because I can't wait until it's over. And we laugh at that, but isn't that what we do? Most of us do not put unedited pictures online, right? Like most of us only put the highlights online. We only put when good things are happening. Now, unless you're just an actual complainer and everything on Facebook for you is, blah, 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 yeah, well, you're a whole nother sermon I need to talk about later. But for the people that don't complain about everything, you only put the nice things online, and we all do it. We all do it. We put our edited life online. We put our highlights online. So my daughter the other day, Kendall, she saw this reel. Okay, here we go again, right? You see it on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. She saw this reel about making these muffins, these blueberry muffins, and she's like, Dad only needs like four ingredients and all that. Mind you, my daughter doesn't bake anything. Okay, she's 19, she's in college, barely she barely eats. Okay, so she's so busy she doesn't make her own food and things like that. And so anyway, so she showed me this, and I was like, well, we have to leave or whatever. I said, but make it, and I'll taste it when I get home. And I got home, and I looked in the microwave because usually we put things in the microwave, that are a bit baked or whatever. And so I looked in the microwave, and I said, Kendall, where's the muffin? She goes, Dad, they weren't very editable. And I said, did you try one? She goes, no. And I said, well, what could you have done that they're not edible? And I was like, all right, never mind. And it made me think of this. You know what picture didn't make it on her social media account? Those muffins. You know why? Because we do not put the behind the scenes online. We only put the highlight reel. And we have to be careful with that, because what we're doing is we're telling the world we're not really content. We're not really content. We don't want you to see the behind the scenes. We only want you to see what's up front. And so Paul learned something Saul never did. And Paul learned this, Philippians 4:11 through 13 says, I am not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. And most of us have heard this one, I can do all things through Christ. That is on mugs and pictures. And my son has it on tattoo on his arm. And here's the problem, though. We forget what Paul said he was strong in all things. God, he could do all things while he's hungry, while he's well fed, while he has a home, while he's homeless, in all things. Paul learned to be content. It is a learned thing. It's not automatic. It is not automatic to be content. We have to wake up every single morning and choose, I am thankful. God, I am thankful. You notice, I think it was two of the three songs, and me and Courtney don't talk about my sermons and stuff, so she's just Holy Spirit led about. But notice the songs. They had to be, they were gratitude songs. They were all gratitude songs. And so, because, listen to me, the greatest way to get out of comparison and envy is just to be grateful. Like, just to be grateful for what God has given you in life. And maybe you look at your life and go, well, my life isn't that great, but I guarantee your life is better than someone else. I guarantee you, I used to tell my kids this all the time when they didn't want to eat. I'd be like, well, another kid in another country would like your food. And they'd be like, oh, Dad. I'm like, well, it's serious. Okay. So if we went to another country, a third world country, they would absolutely think you are the richest person walking the earth. Because you are. Compared to the rest of the world, we're filthy rich. The problem is, if we get so caught up on other people, just like Saul got caught up on David and that song, we get caught up on somebody or something, and we forget to be grateful for what we have. The quickest way to lose sight of your blessings is to focus on someone else's. So let me ask you a question. What blessing have you stopped enjoying because you no longer enjoy it? Marriage? Maybe when you first got married, you're like gung-ho about your spouse, you love them, da-da-da. And now, you're just roommates. Just put up with each other. And then you look at other people online, you're like, man, I wish our marriage looked like that. Can I tell you something? The grass is never greener on the other side. It's only green when you water it. Water your marriage. Put a little love on it. Put a little water on it. Watch it grow. Watch it grow. Maybe it's kids. Maybe you look at your kids and go, well, my kids don't look like their kids. They're not supposed to. They have their own identity. Maybe you should, man, Can I just tell you something? There are people that wish they could have kids. My son and daughter-in-law are having issues, are having problems conceiving. They would love a kid. Enjoy your kid. Enjoy it. Maybe it's health. Maybe it's your car. Maybe it's a calling. Maybe nothing's wrong with your life. Maybe comparison has convinced you that everyone else has better. That's a lie, everybody. It's a lie. Paul learned to be content. Contentment is not automatic. It's learned. We learn it by choosing every day to be thankful for our blessings. Comparison says, I need more. Gratitude says, God, you have been so good to me. God, you've been so good to me. My wife says this every week when she comes up here almost. If God does nothing else for you, he did enough when he sent you. If God doesn't bless you at all, which is impossible, by the way. It's impossible for God not to bless you. Impossible. But if he chose not to, he did it all when he gave Jesus. He did it all when he gave. So here, I want to give you three things really quickly. They're not your notes. How do we learn this? We learn it by choosing every day to be thankful for our blessings. Comparison says, I need more. Gratitude says, God, you have been so good to me. So I want to challenge you this week before you get out of bed. Tell God one thing you're thankful for. One. Not 10, not 5, just one. God, I'm thankful for. And do that every single week. By next Sunday, you can have 7 things that you show God. And you know what will happen if you get into that an attitude of gratitude? You will start living life, start being joyful. Because you will see all the blessings that you actually have around your life. I'm not saying your life's perfect and nothing bad happens. I'm saying when we focus on the wrong thing, we will see the wrong thing. But when we focus on the good thing, we will see the good thing. The second one is we learn it by celebrating someone else's blessing. This one's hard. I'm telling you, if you will learn to celebrate and clap for people, the joy will just come up in you. It will just come up in you. And you know what will happen? If you clap for somebody, they'll clap for you. They'll be excited for you too. And here's the big one. We learn it by just keeping our eyes on Jesus. Just learn it by keeping our eyes on Jesus. Listen, you are not called to win someone else's race. You are called to run and win your race. And at the end, you can say what Paul said, I have fought the good fight. The reason why so many people are tripping in life is they have their eyes on the wrong race. Their eyes ain't on their race. Their eyes are on someone else. Our church, as I close, I want to challenge you this week. When you're tempted to compare, immediately go, God, I want to thank you for it. You put it in. When somebody does something better or when someone, pray for them. Just immediately pray for them. God, I pray for that person. I pray for them. I pray many, many, many more blessings upon them. I pray many, many more blessings. If you've never heard this, I didn't say this the first verse, but if you know a guy named Pastor Craig, he pastors Life Church all around the world, including Mars. He's got campuses everywhere. He said this one time. He was driving down, and he was praying for this church. He felt like God goes, would you be happy if I blessed their church more than yours? And he said it made him stop because he knew his church was bigger. So he needed to pray for another church that isn't doing as well as you. Does that make sense? And he goes, yeah, God, if you bless that church more, I would be okay with that. That's gratitude, everybody. When you're willing, when you are a person that goes, God, if you bless somebody else more than you bless me, I'm going to be grateful because what you've given me is a blessing. It's just a blessing. So this week, again, when you're tempted to compare, stop and thank God for what you already have and pray for the person you're comparing yourself to. Pray God's blessing over them. Contentment grows where gratitude is practiced. Amen?